All right, turns out that next Thursday's debt deadline isn't nearly as dire as some would have you believe, because to hear one credit ratings agency tell it, it does not automatically mean default when we're pushed up against the edge. Here's the way Moody's is explaining it, and this bears repeating here, and it does sound a little wonky, but if I can quote, will the government default after 17 October if the debt limit is not raised? We believe the government would continue to pay interest and principal on its debt, even in the event that the debt limit is not raised, leaving its creditworthiness intact. Again, what Moody's is saying is that when pushed to the brink, sort of like you and I at home, if we're pushed to the brink, we prioritize what bills we pay, our mortgage or rent first. We might let the MasterCard or Visa slide. Rand Paul says that makes sense. It's not an ideal way to conduct business, but it is a backstop, and it is a way for the government to not necessarily immediately go into default. Senator, very good to have you. Nevertheless, they have been equating, that is, those of the administration, a lot of other prominent Democrats, that hitting this deadline is, in fact, defaulting, and they're scaring folks.
Yeah, I think it's inappropriate for the president to be doing that, and it's irresponsible, because the thing is we won't default. And if the president were any kind of leader, he would be saying, this is America, we have never defaulted, and we never plan on defaulting, and I will do everything in my power not to default. We bring in $250 billion a month. Our interest payment is $20 billion. There's no reason why tax revenue shouldn't be plenty to pay the interest on the debt.
How long do you think we could do that, Senator?
It isn't an ideal situation. I'm not advising we do it. I'm just advising we don't scare people to death and scare the markets. I have a pension plan. I have retirement income. I don't want the markets to be spooked either. No American that has a retirement income wants the markets to be spooked. But the thing is that we also need to do something about a $17 trillion debt. The president's added $7 trillion to the debt in the last 5 years. Maybe we could come to an agreement. In 2011, we came up with a sequester, which is slowing the rate of growth. We need something like the sequester, equally dramatic, if not more so, to put us on the right course.
We had the co-founder of Home Depot on with us a few minutes ago, Senator, saying, you know, the one positive you want to call of that that's come out of the shutdown of the government is it's forced, you know, a lot less spending outside of those barriers and barricades they put up around otherwise open-air monuments. In the long run, we've been saving a good deal of money, and maybe pushing back that deadline, that October 17 deadline, when we're told we run out of cash. Do you agree with that, and do you think the deadline is actually much further back than that?
Well, you know, I think it really, if we wanted to move this along and continue to negotiate, I've always been in favor of a clean CR for a week or a clean debt ceiling for a week or two. There's no reason to meet these deadlines. If we're having a discussion and we're approaching a compromise, why wouldn't you? I'll vote for 1 week or 2 weeks, you know, to move things if we're going to negotiate. But the president doesn't want that. He wants, give me the debt ceiling, give me everything I want, give me Obamacare, 100% of what I want, and then I'll negotiate with you. And then we say, oh, yeah, we don't think you'll negotiate at all if we give you everything you want.
So that's the big block right now, right, Senator? It seems that Republicans are open to some sort of a deal that would, you know, he's talked about that as the president, a rider or something in writing that would say, all right, you guys open up the government, I'm going to sit down and talk to you about these things. You guys just don't trust him, do you?
Well, the thing is many times he said, well, we could fix entitlements, but it never happens. Many times he said, well, maybe we are spending too much. But the only time he ever compromised is in 2011 when he had a debt ceiling and we forced him to compromise and we got the sequester, which isn't enough, but it's going in the right direction. It's slowing the rate of growth of government. But we only got that because the leverage of the debt ceiling was used to get him to come to the table. If the Democrats had no pressure, they would spend us into oblivion because they're not concerned about the deficit.
But they feel that as Democrats that they have the upper hand on you because you guys are looking, or at least in the eyes of the public, as very obstinate and stubborn. It's not that the president's poll numbers are great. They're low, too, but yours are a lot lower, not yours specifically. But it seems that the American people are saying a pox on both their houses. These guys seem incompetent. How do you address
I think American people do want us to talk. I'm willing to negotiate and I'm willing to compromise. I think the president's not. but I'm also looking at the long term. I'm not looking at polls today, tomorrow, or next week. I didn't run for office to be popular. I ran for office because I was worried about the country, and I'm worried even more so. $7 trillion of added debt. This president's going to add more debt than all of the previous presidents combined. It is weighing heavily on the economy. Some economists say 1 million jobs a year are being lost because of this debt. So I think you have to look at the big picture and not just at polls and not just at deadlines. You have to say, we can't heap all of this debt on our kids and our grandkids.
Senator, always good seeing you. Thank you.